Yo book nerds, today we're going to talk about story lengths and the different words that we use to describe story lengths. You hear the words novel, novella, short story, tome thrown around a lot, and some people don't know what those mean. Some people don't know the actual sizes of these things. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm making this video. Let's put some definitions to these so you know what they are. I had thought about doing this video with word count, but I don't feel like that's very accessible, so I'm doing page count because unless you wrote the story yourself, odds are, unless you look it up, you're not going to know the word count. So that just didn't seem very accessible to me. So we're going to talk about page counts, but keep in mind that page counts can vary by publisher because, you have different size fonts, you have different kinds of fonts, you have different size pages. There's a combination of things. So these numbers might vary slightly. So this is a rough outline of the different sizes, page sizes of various kinds of story lengths. So we're going to start with the smallest and work our way to the biggest. So the smallest kind of story, the shortest form of a story, is called flash fiction. And flash fiction is approximately 3 pages or less. It's a complete story. It will leave the reader satisfied. It might be minuscule, but the story resolves in some way, shape, or form. And it's a complete story, but it is extremely short. So for example, I've got some Grimm Brothers fairy tales here. So these are some examples of flash fiction. The Old Man and His Grandson, The Water Nixie. These aren't even a full page. They're definitely flash fiction. So flash fiction, approximately 3 pages or less. A short story is anywhere from 3 to 50 pages. So for example, I've got some stories by Mark Twain here. So the first one in this collection is The Notorious Jumping Frog of Calaveras County, which is 5 pages. It's a short story. It's 5 pages. It's not flash fiction. It's a little longer, but it's still extremely short. Flash fiction and short stories should be able to be completely consumed, completely read in one sitting. Now, you may be able to do that with other larger works, but you should be able to sit down and read it fairly quickly and be done with it and move on with your life. Short story. The next largest size of story is called a novelette. This is between 50 and 100 pages. So again, a little bit longer than the short story. Maybe you can still consume it in one sitting, maybe not. But for example, I have A Small Place by Jamaica Kincaid. This story is 81 pages. So 81, very, very short, obviously. Very short. Quick to read, but maybe not one sitting. Then we have the novella. The novella is about 100 to 200 pages long. For example, Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu. Again, still very short. This story is 139 pages, so probably won't read it in one sitting. Maybe you could if you spend that much time with it, but we're starting to get into larger works, but still very short. Won't take you too terribly long to read. Then we have the novel, which tends to be a catch-all phrase just for books, but a novel actually does have a size. A novel is roughly 200 pages to 500 pages, anywhere in there. So it's a bigger range, right, that a novel can fall into. For example, House of Many Gods by Kiana Davenport. This book is 318 pages. So it's like right in the middle of that novel range, right? 300 pages. Some novels are going to be shorter, some are going to be a little bit beefier, but 200 to 500 pages. And then we have a tome. Tomes are huge books. They are anything that is 500 plus pages, approximately. So these are the giant chunky books. For example, Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. This book is 891 pages. So, very huge. It's going to take you a while. If you sit down to read a tome, it's gonna take you a while. So, this is the largest size tomes. They can be intimidating, but usually they are so worth it, guys. Tomes are great, but even me, they intimidate even me. I have read quite a few tomes, but I still get intimidated, like, oh my gosh, I am now committing a huge chunk of time to this one book. Anything 500 plus is a tome, and if you read any tomes, be proud. Not that you shouldn't be proud of reading any of the other book lengths, of course you should, but there is something special about tomes. They're a brick, right? You could probably knock someone out with one of them. Anyway, those are the different sizes of stories and the page lengths approximately of what each entails. And so I hope this helps to clear up any confusion and helps clarify what these terms mean when you hear people throwing them around. I typically read novels. Most of the books I read are in that novel range, but every now and then I'll read things that are shorter, and I'll every now and then read things that are in that tome range. But most of the books I read are novels. Drop down in the comments, let me know if this helped you, or if you have different page lengths, or if you have word counts that you want to add, or whatever. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what your preferred book length is. I'd love to chat with you there. Hit that like button and subscribe. I'll talk to you next Monday. Thanks for talking books with me.